Every problem has a solution. I don't feel like something is going to come to you and you're just going to say, okay, well, I can't solve that. We've got to make it work. Whatever it is, we've got to make it work. We've got to do something.
Welcome back to another episode of Relentless Life on Your Term. I'm joined by Heleena Alatsas. How are you, Heleena?
Very well, thank you.
Now, you have a very interesting story. Now, we've worked together in the past.
Yes.
You've actually catered for my charity event, Lead with Kindness with Gringlish. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But before we do, let's start at the beginning.
Okay, the beginning.
14, when you started working.
Yes. Thrown into family business from very, very young age. Technically, it was in the kitchen, but I was also behind the bar, but we won't go there. And we had like a big hospitality business that my dad would oversee and loved it. Learned every aspect of it, kind of climbed through all the different areas and was in and out of there from 14 up into my 20s through uni, studying marketing at Monash, whilst having a few other jobs at the same time, really wanting to...
What different jobs? You're working 4 jobs at one stage or something. What sort of work?
Yeah.
Hospitality, what else?
Hospitality, I had a call center job.
Yep.
Which is probably one of the worst jobs I've ever had in my life.
I love that. I work in a call center too.
Wow. You just would just get abused every single day, but, you know, just still tell people to have a nice day and hang up and move on to the next one, you know.
So call center, hospitality.
Hospitality, yeah, a few hospitality jobs in there. I was also coaching for a school. I was coaching some soccer boys.
Did you play soccer yourself? Didn't you?
I did. Yep. So for many years. So coaching was always I loved doing that. And that was a nice little side job as well. And really just trying to make as much money as I could to go overseas and, you know.
Travel. So you worked with your father, learned the hospitality trade.
Yes. And was thrown into management roles very young, probably younger than, you know, you normally would. As being in a family business, you get exposed to a lot of different things. So at around 20, the manager moved on and my dad kind of looked at me and was like, you're the manager, you know. And I remember people, you know, we used to have massive functions, you know, 400, 600 people, and it would be chaos and things would be going on. They'd be asking for the manager and they'd look at me and be like, no, the actual manager. And yes, what is your problem? Let me solve it.
What did you learn from that experience?
I think just how to stay calm and to problem solve under stress. That was one of the things when I look back into all of that as an experience, and obviously looking at my dad as an example, he's quite a calm person in a stressful...
Very un-Greek of him.
Quite un-Greek of him, yes. I mean, can be quite Greek also. But he, you know, I guess it's just sort of dealing with lots of different people coming at you with different things and just sort of staying calm and looking at the big picture in that situation.
Hospitality is a very demanding role in so many areas. And when you mention problem solve and think on your feet, a lot of people, as you know, I'm in the financial services sector, but a very, very good grounding and schooling is people that are working in hospitality.
Yeah.
Because they're good with people and they're good with clients.
And it's also I think, so I was thinking about this as well, with hospitality, you don't have time it's on the spot, right? So that issue needs to be solved on the spot. It's not an error, a grammatical error that you can go back and fix later. You know, it's really that on your feet. You got to think really fast, solve the problem and move on because there's a million other things that you need to get to, you know? So it is a really good foundation for a lot of things.
And it is teaching a skill that I think's diminishing in this current environment due to all the social media. Is just people skills.
Yes.
How to relate, how to have a conversation. So problem solving now, people are becoming so obsessed with digital that they're actually forgetting how to communicate. And I think hospitality gives you it's not even a skill, it's a life skill, really. It's beyond a skill.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with humans.
Yes.
All day.
All day.
So that's helped you immensely. So talk us upon that. Then you went to university, studied marketing.
Studied marketing at uni, and we sort of graduated uni at a time when a lot of the marketing roles for grads, it was sort of at a kind of recession time. Everyone was cutting back and a lot of us couldn't really find jobs after uni. I ended up being accepted into a grad role at the Western in Melbourne.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and I was an operational management trainee there, which was a little bit of a, side sort of step or, a different one that I didn't think I would be doing. But it was actually, as we were saying before, that grounding of hospitality, it just kind of furthered those skills. I was put into that new job feeling when you walk in.
You don't know what you're doing.
You don't know what you're doing. You don't know where to put your things. You don't know who you're reporting to, what your role is. That unfamiliarity was every 6 weeks. So I was in a new department every 6 weeks, new manager, new team. So I got used to that feeling.
So the uncertainty is basically what you thrived in. What did you learn through that?
Just knowing that it's going to take a day or two, but you're going to figure it out.
So don't stress.
Don't stress. Like, it's new. Just sit with the new, sit with the unknown. You're going to figure it out. And within a couple of days, it's going to become familiar again, And that's a very interesting training, I guess.
It's good dynamic though, because you're really adapting to change. You're not even being questioned. You have to.
Yes.
That's a very, very, very good situation to be put in.
Yes. And after doing quite a few different rotations in the different areas, I spoke with the general manager at the time and convinced her to let me do a marketing rotation, even though it wasn't in the program. And from there, after being in so many of the departments, I would then get called on by every single department in their busy period to help. And it was just a lot of just being thrown in and dealing with so many different issues at one time. And again, people and solving problems on the fly, which was a really good grounding.
How long did you work at the Western for?
Just short of a couple of years.
So a while.
Short of a couple of years. Yeah, a while. And I sort of, after doing the rotation into the marketing, I realized that I didn't want to work in marketing for a big hotel. I wasn't really as creative as I thought it was going to be.
Too much red tape? What is it?
Too much red tape. It was all sort of siphoned from overseas. And it was a lot of templated sort of marketing.
So the ideas and everything.
The ideas and everything was sort of, here it is and roll it out. It's come a long way since then, obviously. But back then it was very just run by the parent brand that was overseas.
I understand.
So I really wanted to sink my teeth into an actual, a real marketing agency, that type of role. And there was an agency that we studied at uni that I always wanted to work for. So I just picked up the phone and asked someone to volunteer. And I just said, I'll just come work for free. I know you don't have a job, just let me come in and work for free. For the experience. And fortunately, within 3 weeks, they then created a role for me, and I was there for a couple of years working with some really amazing brands.
Did you think that was going to happen? What was your reasoning to say, yes, I'll do it? I know it was the experience, but what were you hoping to achieve?
I was hoping to achieve that.
So get my foot in the door and I'll show what I can do.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that I say to a lot of the younger kids that are asking me how to get a job in different places. And I just can't, I can't get a job, just work for free.
You got to push through it. Like, I remember I placed the call. I was 19. My partner at the time saw an ad. It was in the newspaper, 120,000 plus sales professionals wanted. Do you have a car? Do you have a phone? Do you have a fax? That's how long ago it was, yeah?
Yeah.
So you're 99. And she goes, call this number. It's Attitude, whatever it is, call this number. So I called. The lady who answered was Robin. She was the executive to the CEO at the time. And as I'm talking to her, she goes, how old are you? I said, I'm 19. She goes, you're too young. I said, don't hang up the phone. Please don't hang up the phone. Let me come to the office and can say that on my face. Please don't hang up the phone. Let him just meet me.
Yep.
I got in the door and I actually did an interview, and he interviewed me, my boss, who was then became my boss, with someone else who probably thought, I'm not going to spend half an hour with a 19-year-old kid. I ended up getting the job, and the rest is history. That's how I got in this industry.
Yeah.
Through the persistence to just push through it.
Yep, that's it. And that's what it takes, and I think that's kind of a little bit, that's kind of lost its way a little bit with the younger generation. I think it's obviously hard to work for free, the cost of living now. You can't sit there doing it for a long time. But, if you've got the luxury of you haven't moved out yet or something like that, like just give it a go, just get in there.
But you backed yourself in a sense. But yes, it is hard. But I think what that story shows is that where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, of course, everyone needs money. You can't work for free. But it's that persistence in the land of that job, which is fantastic. So from then you got into hospitality?
Well, from then I was working at that marketing agency for a few years, and I worked on lots of big brands, you know, Cadbury, Schweppes, Lacoste, Origin Energy. We worked on some awesome brands, got some great experience there.
What were some of the things you learned from these big brands? What were some of the similarities or some of the things that really stood out to you from working with some of these global brands?
I mean, they've obviously got big budgets, which
Of
is,
course.
you know, which is handy. Look, I mean, it's very competitive. It's very competitive.
To get the contract, you mean?
No, I mean, those brands have to be very competitive with their competitors in a sense. You know, once you're at a Schweppes level, you've got massive competition, you know, and that's why they're all spending big on marketing and they're constantly doing it. Like it's a revolving door. It never ends, you know, and you learn the processes they go through, the creativity that can be applied, how they're trying to, you know, who is their audience, how they're trying to reach their audience, so many things, and how it all comes together and all the different elements. I mean, marketing is so broad. You can do so many things. And we did a lot of like guerrilla marketing, you know, activation type of marketing.
So for our audience, explain what guerrilla marketing is.
Things that kind of pop up, you know, we put a car in the middle of Fed Square. That was very challenging. You know, we did some Tough Mudder sort of activations and people would finish they'd be at the finish line and they'd get showered in solo. You know, some very random things to connect people closer with those brands.
And to get people to take notice.
Take notice and to connect with the right people who, you know, would be interested in their product. So really just getting in their face. And a lot of that I've taken through with now running our own businesses and, you know, doing our own sort of activations. If we've, you know, launched a new time slot that we're open, all of a sudden I'm a restaurant, I'm activating on Swan Street, you know, it's really things that you probably wouldn't think about normally, but once you've been exposed to them, it kind of becomes
Opens
second
your brain
nature.
to think
Yeah.
But you look at, there's not one industry that marketing and sales does not touch or affect. So once you understand those core principles, they're really transferable across any platform.
Yes, definitely.
Your ability to market, and then the two highest paid professions in the world is sales and marketing. No matter where you go in the world, if you have those two abilities, you can make money and you can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it's in any industry.
That's it. And it makes sense as well. You know, you can have the best food in your restaurant, but if no one knows about it, you know, where are you going? You know, and that's just how it is in this day and age. You know, you can wait for the referrals and people to talk and all of that, and that's all very important, but you've got to couple it with being online and being, you know, accessible to people and then being able to find you.
Top of mind marketing.
Top of mind.
And it keeps people coming back.
Yep.
Now you run a very beautiful restaurant with your husband as well. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So, well, I met Phil at a similar time to when I was at that agency and I was doing a little bit of work in marketing. Yeah. Yes. And I was actually running my own event at the time. And long story, but I was getting some sponsorship and Phil made some beautiful desserts and he actually did some desserts for an event that I was running at the time. And from there, it was pretty clear that Phil wanted to open his own restaurant. And, you know, I thought, well, I'll market it. You know, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? You know, and I've always been very interested in business. It's just kind of been something that I've just grown up being familiar with. So we just, you know, found a place on Swan Street and named it, you know, at 2 a.m. with a Greek English dictionary with a business partner at the time. And I was sort of part-time working. I'd left a marketing agency and gone and worked for a children's charity at the time. As you were saying, you know, what did I learn from big organizations? After doing campaign, it just kind of lost a little bit of its impact for me. And I really wanted to...
You mean meaning and purpose? Meaning
and purpose. I really wanted to work for an organization that contributed more to the community and gave back a bit more. And that's when I started shifting my skills to more of the non-for-profit sector. So I worked, for a couple of children's charities and then for an agency that worked for different organizations as well. So we would do marketing campaigns for them, which was really nice. And the restaurant was all happening at the same time.
Now, you mentioned you took out the Greek dictionary. The name is?
Bahari.
Which means?
Baharika means spices in Greek, and Bahari is actually allspice. So we just really liked the sound of it. Phil is, a bit of background on Phil. Phil was an accountant who then got onto MasterChef and essentially moved from Tassie to Melbourne after that experience, was part of a restaurant, and then now has been running, we opened Bahari.
Met his now wife.
With his now wife, yes.
Few little ones.
One little one.
One little.
He's 2.5 now. So, when I met Phil, I was on my way to London to work in marketing agencies, and he was thinking of going back to Tassie and opening a restaurant there, and we both stayed in Melbourne. So, that was 11 years ago.
So obviously, is that 11 years Bahari's been open for?
10 years this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
The previous guest had Stanley's business been going for 30 years. I'm close to my 20th. It's a big accomplishment to be in any business for 5 years, never mind 10, which is fantastic. Very competitive market. Melbourne does have some of the best culinary experiences in the world. Now, I remember speaking to you when I came to a restaurant actually with my partner, and you blew me away when you were talking to me about when COVID hit and things were very challenging, especially for our hospitality industry, all the ideas you came up with, and you were trying to reinvent how you can bring in revenue. Share some of them with him. But now speaking to you more, I can understand how your marketing brain was thinking.
Yeah, I think, and that's something that I've reflected on too when thinking about, what would sort of come up in this conversation, and thinking on the fly and adapting. I guess that's something that I've sort of been trained at in a way, trained on. And we had, the world shutting down all around us, and people saying, what are you going to do? The restaurants are closing. And we're thinking, is this for real? They can't close our business,
Went from the most livable city to the most locked down city in the world. That's
and you
incredible.
think, a lot of people say, well, you take risks going into business. Like that's part of it.
This is very different.
And this is not that.
This is very different.
This is, the government is telling you cannot operate. And we didn't have a takeaway shop. We had a restaurant. So at the time you're thinking, okay, we've got to become a takeaway shop here, and within 4 days, I remember Phil was doing a masterclass at the time, and people were sort of thinking, do we come? Do we not come? Is it on? Isn't it on? We were thinking, well, it's on. No one's told us it can't be on, and we did that. And the tears, that people were coming in saying, we don't know what's going to happen to you. And we're thinking, we don't know either, but we've got to make it work. Whatever it is, we've got to make it work. We've got to do something, and it was a very emotional, very strange time. And we didn't do takeaway before then. We didn't have Uber Eats before then. We were purely a restaurant, and some customers would call us and order food to pick up. So we got on the phones to all of the apps and got the photographer in, and we were literally a takeaway shop 4 days later on 4 different apps. It was crazy. We organized our packaging. We adapted super, super quickly with our menu, making sure that our menu could travel, all of these things. Not every restaurant's food could become takeaway. We were fortunate in that sense that Greek food adapted properly is a pretty good takeaway option. If you were fine dining, that was a pretty difficult challenge.
Of course. And then they did, what was the app, Foodorial or Providor, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So there was different apps, but
lots of different
within
things.
4 days though, to pivot on 4 apps, it's pretty quick, but you got to be nimble, don't you? Because you've got no time to figure it out. It's like you said in the start, when you're in hospitality, you don't have time. You just got to move. You got to move.
Yeah.
So, and also you have another business, which I mentioned at the start of this podcast called Grenglish, which you cater for events.
Yes.
Now you catered for my Lead with Kindness this year, which we had at Lesial, which you looked after me on price too, because it was for charity. So I appreciate that. Yep. Everyone was very happy with the food. Tell us a bit about Grenglish.
Yeah, so Grenglish sort of was a bit of a side hustle. I was in marketing back when the restaurant was starting and still having my part-time jobs. And then people kept asking for, can you cater our event? Can we have Bahari's food at this location at our house?
Was that idea born from COVID?
No, it was before COVID. Yeah, so that was before COVID back in sort of 2016, 2017.
Yep.
And it started to really take off. It was quite a busy catering business pre-COVID. And then obviously COVID really killed the events industry, not just the restaurant
Yep.
industry, but the events industry was really, really crippled. Obviously, you couldn't have any events, So we chose to focus on the restaurant. We had to. That's where the lease was,
Of course, that's where the big overhead is.
That's where the overhead was. So we sort of just put a stop to we couldn't do events anyway. And we thought once this, open, closing, 20 guests, now 10 guests, now 10, now 5, we were literally living announcement to announcement.
Which was crazy because a lot of restaurants were buying food they had to throw away, people ordering. So there was a lot
It was a lot.
It was crazy.
It was a lot. There was one time when we had, we were catering a wedding the next day and there was a lockdown at the Thursday 7:00 before the wedding on the Friday. That food is
toast.
That's it, and we would then try to turn whatever prep we could into a restaurant takeaway option so we could try and sell the food. And I remember we had sort of pre-done some of the desserts and things like that, which weren't fully prepped, but we were going to finish them on site. We just finished them and we gave them away to everybody who ordered the next day on the Friday. We just gave all the desserts away as a freebie so we wouldn't throw the food away. There was just a lot of wastage potential in that time as well. But yeah, basically the catering business grew from there. It's definitely more of a, it's a side hustle. It's something that we do. And then, we've been it's been really nice. We've been part of a lot of people's 18th, 21st, engagements, the same family. There's a lot of that nice feel to it, which is really nice. And yeah, I guess having the little one a couple of years ago, that was something that I could sort of dial down a little bit during that time. I tried to dial it down and take some time off, which, yeah, to my own fault, didn't really happen because I always say yes.
When you've got an entrepreneur mindset, it's very, very hard to switch back.
It is.
It's a lot harder for a mother,
yes,
obviously, than it is for a male. Because obviously it's you've got to carry the kid. It's a lot harder.
That's it. But it's a choice though as well. I chose to take on certain things and for me it worked well. Fortunately, he was a good sleeper, so could get a lot of work
So
done.
what's next for you guys?
Well, we've just recently launched Phlavour with the PH. So this is something that's been in the works for quite a while and we're really proud. It's sort of about 6 months young. So it'll be interesting to sort of see where it takes us. So Phlavour is ready meals, but it's actual food that we like to enjoy. And I think
So you're trying to say high quality, nice meals.
High quality food, no preservatives, and a lot of it is Mediterranean food.
What sort of meals would there be?
We're talking about, like a spinach rice, like a spanakorizo.
Spanakorizo.
Yes,
Beautiful.
which with roast chicken. We've got a lamb and vegetables. We do the pastito moussaka. We've also, our first client was Richmond Football Club, which was awesome. So we do a lot of catering for the boys and we had sort of floated this idea with them and they would just wait. They're like, yes, we want Phil to cook for us, So they were kind of a bit of a testing ground for it, which was really nice. And next year working with hopefully an NRL team as well, which is really exciting. So yeah, we're currently delivering to people's doorsteps, busy professionals, working families. It's just food that can give people a helping hand during the week. It's not, you're not going to have it every night, but if you can have a few meals up your sleeve, might save you that trip to the supermarket, save you the prep time. It will definitely save you the cleanup time, and you can actually eat really good food.
And it's good quality food.
Good quality food. Yeah.
So how do people tell us, you said Bahari, give us the address.
So 179 Swan Street. Phlavour is all online. So people order by 10 o'clock on Wednesdays at this point for a Sunday delivery. That's all, constant evolution.
How many meals can you buy for the week?
As many as you like.
It's okay for 4 or 5 days?
Yeah, we've lab tested all of our meals. So it's been quite a bit of a process. We also properly top seal them for shelf life. So they've got about 7 days.
That's what I was trying to ask. So.
Yeah. And you can also put them in the freezer as well. So some people will, just buy up and fill their freezer. And once they're done, it's not a subscription. You can just buy as you need. And something that's really nice that's sort of coming out of this is that we are doing home care packages as well. So for the elderly who are on home care packages, and a lot of people who have lost the ability to cook this type of food for themselves may not have access to really nice, good quality food, and it's also subsidized by the government. So
Oh,
they're
wow.
getting it at a reduced rate and it's delivered to their doorsteps fresh. So it's been really nice to speak to the wider community of that, like an elderly sort of community, and see what kind of impact that's having, because they look forward to their meals.
Well, you're doing a great thing. You're helping people eat good food and they're getting a good price. So that's very rewarding.
That's it. And I think through this, Phil is very into his fitness, and he's a big jujitsu
I remember him talking to
person.
me.
Yes. And he's just recently got another belt. So he's very, very committed. And, I shouldn't say his age, but, for his age, he's not that old. But he's very driven. He's very driven and he eats well. And a lot of people were asking him to meal prep for them.
He does look great. He does. I mean, you've got a man that does martial arts and can cook. That's a very good combination.
Hey, I'm not complaining. And look, cooking is not my thing. I don't enjoy it.
Me neither.
And my mum did try. I was too busy kicking a soccer ball around. Sorry, mum. But I prefer to work. I love creating. I'm not a workaholic in a sense, but I do like to have balance in life as well. But I love creating and working, and it's just.
You found your yin and yang.
Well, that's it, and if now I can outsource the food and also have this beautiful food in my freezer and I can help people do that, I mean, you're welcome.
You look at every single part of your journey, from growing up in restaurants with your father, from your marketing to all your problem solving to where you are now. When you look back, I always say it's easy to join the dots. You can never join them forward, but you look at your journey, and even my previous guest as well, he told me some of his experiences and I thought, wow, it was kind of destined that he's going to go a certain way. Sometimes you take the scenic route, but all the dots, always fascinating to see.
Yeah.
Now, as it's become a custom in our Relentless podcast, are you ready for our quick fire questions, Heleena?
Sure.
I love the name, by the way. It's my niece's name, so it's a very special name for me, Heleena. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Beach holiday or city adventure?
Beach.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Book or movie?
Book.
Mountains or ocean?
Oh. Ocean.
Pizza or pasta?
Oh. Technically, try to avoid both. Probably pasta.
Should say lamb or chicken?
Yeah. You've got to sort of change
Lamb
that
or
up for
chicken?
me. Lamb.
Texting or calling?
Calling.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
So best advice I've ever received, a couple of things. I would say something that my dad always tells me, which is, if you've got options, you're okay. I think when you're faced with a stressful situation, if you're not backed into a corner and you've got no options, you're okay. If you've got options, you just need to work through them.
So do you think that means stay level-headed and figure it out? Don't
stay
stress.
level-headed, and it's not the end of the world.
I like that.
It's when you don't have options that you're in trouble.
Which is why you said it was very calm in hospitality.
That's
very,
right.
very good advice.
And also I think something that my uncle once said to me, that he was for 30 years a general manager of one of the largest hotel chains internationally. And he said to me along the lines of, just embody that role or that position before it's been given to you, Of
course.
So if you're not that supervisor, take the opportunity to step up.
You attract that, what you bring into your life. So
that's right.
Act as if. So you walk in, already act in your mind like you have that role.
That's it. And if people see you doing that, you're a natural fit and you're constantly moving forward. And that's something that I've taken. I don't even know if he would know that stuck with me, that comment, but something I've taken that with me across in business and building brands as well, that, don't just limit yourself to where you are.
You attract it in your life 100%.
That's it.
Now, if you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Apart from my husband.
Yep.
You're going to laugh. I'd probably say Mark Boris.
Oh, the great man, Mark. Shout out to Mark.
It would just be a great conversation. I'd love to pick his brain.
What's a moment in your life that you're most proud of?
Oh, I mean, becoming a mother.
Other than that,
Yeah, other than that.
professionally.
Professionally, I think, the way we pivoted through COVID is probably something that I'll look back and, I do look back now and say that I'm pretty proud of the way that we went through that.
Your
and
response times and what you did.
Our response times and how quickly we, adapted, pivoted, and the fact that we're still here and, having a restaurant in such a difficult industry, which is only becoming more difficult for 10 years is, something I'm pretty proud of. Yeah.
What drives you to keep going when things get tough?
I think it's just something that I just always feel like there's a solution. I feel like every problem has a solution. I don't feel like something is going to come to you and you're just going to say, okay, well, I can't solve that.
I like that. If you could make one change in the world, what would it be?
That's a good one. I think I would it's a big problem to solve, but I think that the system of work and how much we have to work, which, it's a choice, but I think that people they work so much of their life.
Work-life balance?
Work-life balance. And I wish that, I would love people to just be able to change maybe their goal or their perspective so they don't look back in 20, 30 years and think, I just spent so many years, in that office and I miss this and I miss that, No. Beautiful office. Yeah. No, but, that's something that I'm just trying to put into play and that I'm constantly workshopping in my life.
That's what people say that one of their biggest regret is before they die working so much. Last question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much have you enjoyed being on the podcast?
20.
Thank you very much, Heleena, for being on our podcast. Please go down and meet Phil and Heleena at the restaurant. It's a great restaurant. Or look at some of their options. We'll put it in the links below. Thank you.